The story starts with a legacy. Noel's grandfather, a legendary man known as Overdeath, wasn't just a hero. He was the seeker everyone feared. The guy spent his whole life fighting abyss beasts, creatures that would terrify even elite warriors, and he kept going without rest. Eventually, though, even legends meet their end. Overdeath dies in battle, and the world marks the end of an era. Now, you'd think his grandson Noel would want to follow in his footsteps, right? Well, yes, but also no. Noel does admire his grandfather, but instead of trying to become the strongest warrior, he sets his eyes on something much bigger. He wants to lead the greatest clan the world has ever seen. Not just strong, not just famous, the best of the best. A clan so powerful it shakes the entire hierarchy of the world. And here comes the irony that fuels the entire series. Noel is a talker. Yes, that's his class. In this world, classes decide your fighting style, your growth path, and your role in battle. But a talker? Widely considered useless. The class literally has no combat skills. People look at it and go, "Oh, congratulations, you're good at..." what? Talking your enemies to death? Basically, if you rolled talker in this world, you got the short end of the stick. It's like showing up to a sword fight with a megaphone. Hilarious in theory, disastrous in practice. But Noel, he doesn't see it as a weakness. In fact, he flips the whole perception of his class on its head. He's not going to swing a sword harder than anyone else, but he's going to outthink, outmaneuver, and outscheme every opponent he faces. Imagine being so clever that your words become weapons sharper than any blade. That's Noel in a nutshell, turning a supposed joke of a class into a nightmare for his enemies. 2 years after his grandfather's death, Noel is already making moves. He's part of a struggling group called Blue Beyond, and we catch up with them as they're battling a hive of lesser vampires. These aren't your sparkly, romantic vampires. No, these are vicious, bloodthirsty pests swarming like angry bees from hell. Now here's where Noel starts to shine. He's not the guy at the front swinging blades or casting giant fireballs, but he's the brain. His strategies are so detailed and layered that his companions literally slice through the enemy like clockwork. It's like watching a chess master play 10 steps ahead while everyone else is just trying to figure out how the knight moves. One moment, the team is surrounded, backs against the wall, and next, Noel whispers a few commands and suddenly the vampires are tripping over their own fangs. You almost feel bad for the monsters. They didn't stand a chance against a guy who fights with his mind. And this is where Noel makes his big announcement. He's going to form the strongest clan in the world and reach the ranks of the Regalia. The Regalia are basically the top-tier clans, the ruling powers of this society. They're the celebrities, the mafia bosses, the political dynasties all rolled into one. Picture the elite of the elite, lounging in their fancy halls, deciding the fate of the world over a glass of whatever fancy drink they have in this fantasy realm. Naturally, his companions are like, Noel, buddy, we can barely handle small-time battles. How are we supposed to take on the world? They're staring at him like he suggested they all jump off a cliff for fun. But Noel doesn't care about doubts. He knows that to build something great, he needs attention, good or bad. In fact, he embraces the idea of being notorious, of being feared. Why blend in when you can be the villain everyone whispers about? It's a bold strategy, and honestly, it's kind of refreshing in a world full of cookie-cutter heroes. From here, Noel starts his recruitment drive, and first on his list is Alma Judicali. Alma is not your average recruit. She had lost her will to live, practically walking in the shadows of despair until Noel showed up. She's like a ghost of her former self, eyes hollow, spirit broken, maybe from some tragic backstory involving lost loved ones or failed battles, the kind that leaves you questioning everything. Instead of comforting her with kind words like some sappy motivational speaker, Noel does something much more effective. He gives her purpose. He presents her with his crazy ambition to become Regalia within a single year. It's not flowers and hugs, it's a challenge, a lifeline thrown into her darkness. Alma doesn't just join him, she commits to him fiercely, body and soul, because for her, his dream is now her reason to live. It's intense, almost obsessive. But in this cutthroat world, that's exactly the kind of loyalty Noel needs. And let's be real, if someone pulled you out of rock bottom with a plan to conquer the world, you'd probably pledge eternal allegiance, or at least bake them cookies. This is where Noel's class actually starts to reveal its hidden power. His talker class gives him two abilities that sound underwhelming at first, but turn out to be game changers. First, he has abnormal mental tolerance, basically a resistance against psychological attacks. But more importantly, it allows him to stay uncannily calm under pressure. Imagine everyone panicking in the middle of a battle, hearts racing, sweat pouring, screams echoing, and Noel's just sipping tea in his head, calmly calculating the next 10 moves. That's him. No freakouts, no second guessing, just pure ice-cold focus. It's like he has an internal thermostat set to chill no matter how hot the fight gets. And in a world where mind games and fear can win battles before swords are drawn, this is basically a superpower disguised as a personality trait. The second ability is Tactician Talker. This lets him command his allies in a way that elevates their skills to terrifying levels. It's not just barking orders, it's like he's unlocking hidden potential in everyone around him. For example, Alma uses her Perfect Throw Scout ability to launch darts along impossible paths, hitting perfect marks every time. Picture her flicking a dart that curves around corners, defies gravity, and nails a target from 100 yards away, all because Noel said the right words at the right moment. Then there's Koga Tsukishima, a frontline fighter who becomes unstoppable under Noel's direction. Koga's the muscle, the guy built like a tank with a sword that could cleave mountains. But without guidance, he's just brute force. Noel simply tells him when and where to break the enemy line, and boom, the fight shifts instantly. Enemies scatter, formations crumble, and suddenly the battlefield looks like a demolition derby. It's as if Noel's words are buffs in a video game, turning average fighters into legends. And the best part, his enemies never see it coming because, hey, he's just talking. How threatening can that be? Spoiler, very. And yes, Noel does carry a gun. Guns are rare and expensive in this world, like owning a Ferrari in a horse and buggy era. But the interesting twist is that weapons don't define you here, classes do. That means even though Noel's holding a firearm, his growth still depends on being a talker. Again, most people would see that as a weakness, like bringing a fancy toy to a real fight. Noel uses it as another layer of unpredictability. He might not be blasting away like a gunslinger, but when he pulls the trigger, it's precise, calculated, and usually the punctuation mark on one of his elaborate plans. It's like he's saying, sure, I talk a lot, but I back it up with boom. Adds a modern flair to this fantasy setting, doesn't it? Almost makes you wonder if he's secretly from our world, time traveled with a pistol and a plan. Eventually, Noel formalizes his clan. He names it Winged Tempest, and even designs a crest, a winged snake. And honestly, that's perfect, because if there's one thing that defines Noel, it's being a snake. Patient, precise, and absolutely merciless when he strikes.